All right. Well, I'll start in by asking you how much you've enjoyed what you've seen over the last couple of matches.
Yeah, I have. And although we didn't get the results in one or two games before that, I thought we kind of showed those signs of promise in terms of like attacking and creating chances. But of course, we didn't quite get the goals in the right moments. But in the last two games, I feel like we've got the goals in the right moments and then got what we've deserved. So yeah, it's been enjoyable, but we don't get too carried away. You know, there's games are coming thick and fast, and we've got to be ready to do it again.
7 goals over the course of 2 games makes what I'm about to say kind of obvious, but it feels as if you've got a lot of threat from various areas of the pitch.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, it's a kind of collective thing because I think we're creating those chances. You know, it's not just random. I think the chances are being quite well created through, different players within the team. So, yeah, we're getting goals from different areas and creating a bit more now. So we're on the right path, but, we've still got a lot of work to do, I think.
It helps when you've got a free scoring centre half, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, he's been a threat on the set pieces, and even when the set piece is breaking down, he's hanging around there a bit longer now. So sniffing goals. So it's good. When players are sensing that they might get a goal, that kind of belief is important. So long may that continue.
And what about Ruben Rodriguez? I mean, obviously he's come with some pedigree to the club this season. It's taken him a while to get going on a goal scoring front, but 4 goals in the last 3 games. What's happened with him? What have you done with him?
No, I don't think it's what I've done. I think it's what he's done. He's working very hard in training now, very focused, and I think sometimes the players take a step back and then look at what they need to do to be successful. And I think he's really put in the work for the past couple of weeks on the training pitch, and then he's getting the rewards on the field. So it's no coincidence that hard work on the training pitch is conveyed onto the playing side. So I'm pleased to see him doing that. But again, he has to continue that like everybody else if you want to maintain that form.
And I guess it's a kind of cyclical thing, isn't it? That once you start scoring goals, you get more confidence, and if you get more confident, you try things, and it might lead to more goals.
Yeah, I guess so, and it works both ways. I think before we were kind of creating chances, not taking them, and then feeling a little bit more vulnerable at the other end. And I think we look a little bit calmer and more focused in those moments now. So that's a good sign. But we can start the game against Maidenhead. It might not start our way, so we've got to keep the belief and know that sometimes games don't always go to plan, but you've got to be able to adapt.
There's a lot to be said for hitting form at the right time in a season, isn't there? And teams over the course of playoff history who hit the playoffs in form tend to be successful. It's a good time to hit form, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Of course, at the end of the season, you want to be in form as you're closing out, and we knew that. We went through a sticky patch with results and things that we weren't happy with, but we kept saying that we've got to believe in that we can hit form at the right time, and there was plenty of games left still to do that. But there's 5 games left, and they're not easy games. They're tough games now, so we've got to really apply ourselves in all of them.
And as they have been doing, I mean, they just keep coming, don't they, those games? I was making a note that I think the game against Maidenhead is the 18th in just over 2 months, 2 months in 2 days or something. I mean, and you've arrived in the middle of all that. Yeah. I mean, it's a punishing schedule for any football team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's quite unique, the schedule that we've had. It's been quite intense in terms of games and not so much time to recover, and short preparation time between each one, and we've had a lot of away games. Since I've been here, I feel like we're always on the road playing away from home. So the schedule's been demanding. I think we've coped with it quite well in terms of keeping players fresh and fit and on the pitch, and we've rotated when we've needed to, I think. But it's not going to ease up. It's going to be like this. So we just have to embrace the games and enjoy the challenge for each game, and I think that's the right mindset to have.
And I guess from your point of view, it's made it tougher to sort of settle in, really. Do you kind of feel as if you are starting to settle now a little bit?
I mean, you're used to playing one game a week, and then having the training in between. So kind of when you've had this many games, it feels like I've been here about 4 months. But I've actually not. So I've only been here a short amount of time. But because of just so many games and so much information, and feels like you've been here for longer. But No, I mean I feel quite settled and enjoy working with the team, and we know where we've got to be, and we're just working hard for that.
So Maidenhead is the next challenge, and quite a challenge it seems, if their weekend form is anything to go by.
Absolutely, it's a tricky away game. It'll be a tough environment. I don't see the pitch being particularly good, so we'll have some challenges from that perspective. And then they're a very physical and direct team, and they've scored 4 goals against Hartlepool. They've got threats, so it's definitely not an easy game to go away. They're in form. And they'll certainly fancy maybe they're not, I think if they had a crazy run now until the end, they might sneak into the playoffs. So they're not totally out of it, and I'm sure they'll be hungry for that. So I think it's a game that's a tough challenge in there. But again, like we said before, we feel confident at the moment, so we'll go there with confidence.
Yeah, I was going to make that point with the league table looking how it does, and they've got a couple of games in hand, haven't they? It feels like a really big game for them, because they can't afford to drop too many more points if they want to get up there.
Yeah, exactly. So, just like our mindset is, every game is like a cup final and essential to go out there and give our best. I'm sure they're going to have exactly the same.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Ian. It's all from me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Ian. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well.
Good.
Yeah, just wanted to kick off with your kind of final reflections on the Barnet game, really. I'm interested to know where that performance ranked in terms of the ones that you've overseen since coming in.
I think we've played better than that. I know the score is 4-1 and we can look at the score, but I still think there's way to go. I think there was some elements in the second half where, we when we're 4-0 up, I want us to still be kind of relentless with how we want to play, but we kind of just, it's easy sometimes to get comfortable, and I didn't like it when we got comfortable, but we scored 4 goals away from home in a game. Barnet only lost 1-0 to Sutton. They'd beaten Altrincham, they'd beaten Dagenham before us, so they were not in bad form, even though they're down there in the table. So I think 4 goals away from home as a result is great. I think we played some good stuff and was calm and composed, but I still think we can be better.
Yeah, is that something that you'd like to see more, just that intense performance for a full 90-minute period now?
Yeah, and that's always what we demand. We know it's difficult, and other teams have a say in that, and they try and come in and affect that. But we want to keep our standards high at every moment. So even if we feel like they drop for 10 or 15 minutes in that game, we'll have a look at that and see where we can be better.
Sure, and I can imagine the mood in the dressing room on the back of the Sutton win, and then of course that win against Barnet is quite a good place to be right now.
Yeah, it is, but it wasn't. I said it before. It wasn't. We weren't down in the basement when we were losing. We saw some elements in the performance that we thought were good, and we just knew that we just got to keep working hard, and the result, we can turn the results. And now we've done it in 2, but there's still plenty of games to play, and we've got to do it consistently. So we never get too far ahead of ourselves. We're happy with the last 2 games, but we're just focused now on the next game, really.
For sure, and we've said, of course, with how tight the table is, that a good run either way can really change the complexion of the table, and all of a sudden it's looking a good bet that Notts can kick on and really cement a playoff spot now.
Yeah, that's always been our aim, so we keep with that, and we've just focused on this Maidenhead game now and putting in a good performance to try and get the result in that game, and then hopefully that will then make the table look even better. But the only thing that matters is after that last game of the season where we sit. So one game at a time, but we just put all in on this next one now.
And we spoke about Maidenhead being in form with that impressive result of the weekend. What kind of test do you think they will pose on your team tomorrow?
I think it'll be well organised. I see that they're a well organised team. Certainly without the ball, they've been well organised. And going forward, they offer different threats. They've got some pace in there. They've got a couple of good individuals, and they play forwards very quickly. I think they have maybe the lowest possession in the league, but they make a lot of final third entries, so they're going back to front very quickly. But you saw against Hartlepool it worked for them, and they can be a real handful when they're in their stride. So it's definitely a game we don't take lightly.
Sure, and yeah, it's got all the makings of it being, like you say, a really good game, because both teams are heading into this with a good bit of momentum behind them.
Yeah, I don't expect them just to sit down and defend low block. I think they'll come out and have a go, because they're in form, and they'll think, what do we have to lose? So I imagine that they come out and try and attack us, and that can also be a good thing for us, because the game might be a little bit more open. So hopefully it gives us the space to do the same back at them. So yeah, I imagine it's two teams that both want to attack the game.
And like you were talking about with Colin just a few moments ago, in terms of hitting form at the right time, and with the games coming thick and fast, like we've said before, when you do start to hit that stride with the games coming so quickly, it can be easier to continue that. And I'm guessing that's something, of course, you hope and expect from your team going forward.
Yeah, we like I said before, we went through like a rough patch result-wise, but we just said, look, we've still got enough games so that we can hit the momentum at the right time, and that's what we really have to focus on, is working hard to try to turn the results so that we can gain that momentum going into the playoffs. Because for sure, the teams that hit the playoffs with the momentum, it's a good thing, because then they become, it can be 3, depending on where you are in the league, 3 or 2 games in the playoff to gain promotion, and you want to have that momentum and that form hitting them. So that's what we hope for. But again, it's it all starts tomorrow.
And just finally, of course, it only has been a couple of days since the Barnet game, but is there any injury or team news ahead of the game tomorrow?
Obviously, Dion is back in contention from his suspension. Injury-wise, Lewis Knight still was on the pitch today, but not fit. Lacey the same. So no other players available other than Dion back from suspension.
Do you know when it's likely that Knight and Lacey are? Have you got a time frame in mind as to when they could be back in action for you?
Lacey's a little while, I think. We're waiting on a scan, but Lewis Knight was on the pitch today, so he'll make progress through the week. Probably a bit short for the weekend, but maybe the following week he could be in contention again.